Hey everyone, welcome back to Cycle News for 2026. We are back once again for another year of testing the world's best motorcycles, and I'm pretty lucky because the first bike off the rank for 2026 is the Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS. Now, this bike came out last year. We actually had Adam Child attend the world launch for us at Portugal at Portimao. It was wet over there, so he didn't really get to experience the full gamut of the RS, but I've had this bike now for probably the last month or so. It's been my daily rider. I've completely fallen in love with it. It's just a fantastic bike, but it's definitely one of Triumph's absolute premium motorcycles, this, because in the naked bike lineup you also have the RX, clip-on handlebars, a few other bits and pieces on it. So that's the real premium, top end bike that comes out of Triumph as far as their speed triples go. But this is the everyman's top end bike, if you shall we say. So a little bit confusing because there are a few different models in the speed triple lineup. Let's have a bit of a look at what we've got in store for you. Nasty looking piece of kit, isn't it? It's a badass looking bike, and this is the evolution, I guess you could say, of the Speed Triple over the years. The Speed Triple's been around since the early 90s. It was really the bike that saved Triumph, let's be honest, in much the same way that the Monster saved Ducati. That was the same deal with the Speed Triple. Now, the RS is going to cost you $20,845. So yeah, you are paying quite the pretty penny for the RS. It's going to go against bikes like BMW's M or S 1000R, the Aprilia Tuono Factory KTM 1390 Super Duke, and of course the poster boy Ducati Streetfighter V4 and V4 S. All right, looking a little further under the skin. 1160cc inline 3-cylinder engine. Triumph claims this thing pumps out around 180 horsepower and 94 pounds-feet of torque. Okay, now that's obviously crank horsepower numbers. We haven't had the chance to get the bike on the dyno, so I can't give you rear wheel horsepower numbers. To get access to those big horsepower numbers, you've got 5 riding modes. You've got rain, road, sport, track, and you have a configurable ride mode as well, which then allows you to sort of set the throttle response how you want and bits and pieces. However, regardless of the fact that this thing is, got 180 horsepower and lots of torqueys and all that bits and pieces, the thing that's the most impressive for me so far, after having ridden the bike for a decent amount of time, is this. This is the new Öhlins EC 3.0 semi-active electronic suspension. Now this suspension came out with the Panigale back in 2024, I believe. It was the first, I'm trying to get the camera in there so you can see. It was the first time that that system has been used. It's since gone on to machines like the CBR 1000 Honda. I think it's gone on to, I can't remember which other one. There is another one in there which I can't actually remember which one it's on. But it has some very good company, this system. Now, obviously the system has changed and altered, I guess you could say, for the Speed Triple. However, it is an incredible piece of kit because it really does highlight the bike's ability to become 4-in-1, or 5-in-1 when you consider the different ride modes. You got Brembo Stylema calipers as well up front, so plenty of stopping power. You also get this beautiful MCS master cylinder. Trying to get this camera to work. Sorry, guys and girls. Up front here, you have this dash. Okay, now obviously, of course you've got a dash, but hopefully is it going to work? There we go. I've had untold problems with the proximity key, and I absolutely hate proximity keys. So here is your 1200 RS. Now this dash is a bit different compared to what it used to be for Triumph. I haven't found it the easiest to navigate and use. Oh, hello, Mr. B, go away. Thank you. You do get the hang of it eventually, but it is a little confusing. Everything's done via your mode switches down there, and then you have your little joystick over here. You also get cruise control as well, and your other mode switch there. I should say, sorry, that one was. That's your home button over there. Lovely finish on the RS too. The paint's lovely and luminous. The seat, probably not the most comfortable out there. Has a bit of a ridge in it. Just that part there tends to dig in a little bit too much to what I'm sort of used to, but I do love the way that the whole back end comes in. It's very racy looking back end. You get Triumph quick shifter as well, so happy days there, and the gear shift on this thing is absolutely sublime. These mirrors so far are bloody useless. They vibrate like you wouldn't believe, so that's something to be aware of. But yeah, that's what we're sort of looking at. An evolution of the Speed Triple, single side swing arm, so it does look the part. So all right, enough yapping on, let's go for a ride. All right, here we go, and this is the best part of one of the best parts of the ride, firing this thing up. Let's see this thing roll out of gear. Hell yeah. Damn, that thing sounds good. Right, let's get out of here and back on the road. Alright, let's roll. One of the great things I love about naked bikes is just the pure comfort, although I've got to say that even with the RS, the bend in the rider's knee is almost too much. That gap between the seat and the foot pegs, oh, it's pretty close, but I can handle it. But you actually do get kind of sore knees after about an hour on board, which is not the naked bike way, but whatever. I'm riding in road mode at the moment. Over the time I've had this, I've gone through every one of the modes. Rain mode obviously makes everything super soft and dulls the power right down. Road mode, and also too, don't forget your suspension. Road mode gives you pretty direct throttle response, although not like one-to-one. You never get one-to-one anymore with even in track mode compared to what you used to with carbureted bikes. But the best thing about it is, like I was telling before, with the suspension, that's the biggest thing with this bike, is how adaptable the bike becomes when you change different modes. When you're riding in road mode like I'm doing now, it's quite plush. It can get a little bouncy when you start to really wick the pace up a bit and start hitting big potholes and all that kind of stuff. I shouldn't say potholes, but just road corrugations and all that kind of thing. It doesn't maintain its composure that well when the bike is moved up the modes. When you get into sport and track, the bike becomes, especially in track, the bike becomes significantly stiffer. It's pretty remarkable, because when electronic suspension and all that first came out, like I remember the first BMW, the BMW HP4, when that came out, we couldn't believe it. Like, we're like, this is amazing. And then when I look back at how rudimentary that system was, of course, this is pre-IMU days and all that kind of stuff. When I look at how rudimentary that system was compared to what this is now, that EC30 suspension, it's night and day. Doesn't even cover it. Like, the current generation of electronic suspension is so bloody good, and I mean like 2024, 2025. EC 2.0 is a good system. There are other guys out there that are doing electronic suspension. Ohlins have been the ones that have really pushed this thing like religiously now for a number of years. But bloody hell, this new system is so good. It does make the bike, once you get to track, it does make it too stiff as far as I'm concerned for the road. It's not that enjoyable. But when you want to wick it up and you're going up your favourite canyon road and it's time to really give it some, the bike really becomes a naked super bike at that stage. Being a tall naked bike, there we go, get a little bit better now. Yeah, a little bit of a wheelie.
I love the power, the way the power comes in on this. It's bumpy as shit through here. There's so much grunt, and that it doesn't suffer from those blasted flat spots that a lot of the 4-cylinder bikes do, especially the ones coming out of Japan. It doesn't really have that flat spot, that emissions-induced flat spot, so you just have access to all that grunt. It doesn't have 180 horsepower at the tyre. I don't know what it has, but I can guarantee you the butt dyno is not feeling 180 horsepower, I can tell you that. It's probably got 150, 150, maybe even 160. It doesn't feel slow by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, that's what's always funny. You get people that say their bike's got 200 horsepower. If you actually rode a 200 horsepower bike on the street at the tyre, mate, nothing would get near you. Agility-wise, just so you can see the road's a bit wet. You know, we're running Pirelli Supercorsa SP tyres, but just side-to-side agility is just beautiful on this bike. The road's in quite crappy condition through here. It had a bit of rain here overnight, and you can see the dirt's come onto the road. And there's a chicken. Brembo running their MCS master cylinder on this bike is just fabulous. It's the easiest thing to fix in braking on motorcycles, is put a good master cylinder on it. Doesn't take much to fix brakes on bikes, man. If you can put a good master cylinder on it, you're 80% of the way there. Triumph's been doing that for ages now with their higher end bikes, running good master cylinders, so no complaints there. Cornering ABS, cornering traction control, so you've got all the safety mechanisms in the background working away nice and quietly. Obviously 6-axis IMU, so you've got all that stuff, just that little safety net. Changing the modes within the modes, if that makes sense, changing the different parameters within the modes is not that easy. It seems almost like every new iteration they get a little bit harder to change. That's because they don't want you to change them. They want you to stick with what they have chosen for their bike, which I guess I could kind of understand. Oh, Jesus, that feels good. And it sounds unreal. Oh, what I wouldn't give for that Akrapovic exhaust that comes part of the Triumph accessory catalogue. Yum, 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 yum. Now, when you're cruising along just like this, beautiful, easy set cruise control, done. Yeah, I love cruise control. It's nothing remarkable whatsoever. It just makes the life nice and relaxed. So easy done there. You know, you got that little joystick down the bottom there as well to help you navigate through the modes. It can get a little finicky if you've got thicker gloves like this one, so something to bear in mind. Gear shift on this bike is just chef's kiss. Absolutely beautiful. It's so smooth. And on the downshift as well, the auto blipping on the downshift, lovely stuff from Triumph. So they've really nailed that. Triumph's had good gearboxes for a long time anyway, so they're winning in that regard. But this engine now that's, you know, basically 1200, not quite, but very close. It is such a damn good engine. Oh my god! You know, I've ridden pretty much every speed triple for the last 25 years. In fact, I have. And it's nothing that they've done in the last, 10 years or so has been this massive evolution. It's just been slowly improved on every year, a little bit more. Triumph are the ones that solidified how good the 3-cylinder engine was. I highly doubt if Triumph hadn't had the success that they had with their 3-cylinder engines, that Yamaha would even be doing 3-cylinder engines with their MT-09 lineup. know, like the Triumph made it so that people go, oh, actually, no, this is a good engine format. MV Agusta have done it too, but they haven't had the success that Triumph has had with it. They've really made this engine platform their own. It's got so much torque. Throttle response is quite nice. It does suffer from a bit of a flat spot, especially as you go up the ranges. You know, not flat spot, I should say, like a bit of a jerky kind of action on the throttle. So that can be a bit of a problem too. But overall, the engine performance and the way it's fueled is really lovely. Get away from that for a little bit. But for me, bar none, the star of the show is the way that EC3 suspension molds with the chassis and just gives the rider such confidence. You know, it's just lovely the way it steers, the way it holds its lines. The fact that you really do have 4 bikes in one now. I'm totally all for it. Oh, it's just beautiful. As I say, right position can be a little bit, can get a touch uncomfortable. I would be looking probably, if one of these were to find their way into my garage, the first thing I would do would be to go to Saddleman and get myself a custom seat, and then I would be going to get in that Akrapovic muffler. After that, I really don't know what else I would change. I mean, it's certainly the fastest thing that I would ever need on the road. I don't need 200 horsepower or 180 or 150 horsepower bikes anymore on the street. I would like to maybe give the bike a little bit more noise, just to let everybody know that I'm riding a 3-cylinder Triumph. But other than that, it's very, very difficult to fault this bike. It is an absolutely cracking machine.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet ride, this. It's really cool to see that evolution of this bike over the course of certainly my journalistic career. You know, first one I remember riding, I think it was 2002, something like that. Yeah, they are a fantastic bike, and they're so well made. Like the finish on Triumphs now is so good. Like I was saying in the previous video that I did on the Bonneville, just the Bonneville range, the new Bonneville range. But the way that Triumph finishes off their motorcycles now, they're really, really lovely bikes. I mean, the bar is raised quite high now, very, very high, in fact, from a lot of the various manufacturers and from Europe especially. But yeah, Triumph have done very, very well with this bike. Got to say, if you really are going after it hard in the twisties, you might find that you start to get a little bit of arm pump, which is something I noticed when I rode last week. Because it is quite like a bit of a bend in the elbow when you get over the front of it. So that's something that I didn't really experience on other naked bikes like the S1000R or the Aprilia Tuono. So that's something to be a little bit wary of. Also, yeah, that seat isn't the most comfortable, and I've got to say the dash isn't the easiest to navigate either. So that can be something that can, whoop. So this is what happens when you film on the side of the road. Yeah, the dash actually is not the easiest to navigate. So there's a few things to bear in mind with the Speed Triple RS, but like overall, what a bike! Great brakes, great engine, great gearbox, very, very good quick shifter, little comforts like quick shifter, cruise control, all that stuff. So look, you are paying a pretty penny for that bike, well over 20 grand. It's going to be way over 21 grand, maybe even 22 by the time that you get the thing out of the door at your local Triumph dealer in 2026. However, fantastic looking motorcycle, a bike that's definitely not going to age for a long time. It's got all the bells and whistles. They're not going to make it much quicker than what you got right now. So good stuff from Triumph.